No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Black Friday game day on Prime is an epic day of live sports. It all starts at 9 a.m. Eastern with the Capital One Skins game. Then, Black Friday football returns when the Bears take on the Eagles at 3 p.m. And it culminates with the final night of Emirates NBA Cup group play with Bucks Knicks at 7 p.m. and Mavs Lakers at 10 p.m. Black Friday game day, only on Prime.
Odd front answers, defensive identity, and special teams situational mastery. These are the details that win games. Today on Game Planning Tips, we're joined by Brockport head coach Jason Mangone, Georgetown defensive coordinator Kevin Doherty, and Cornell head coach Dan Swanstrom. Each brings a simple, teachable framework you can use this week. This episode is presented by Lawrence First and Goal Foundation, supporting pediatric brain tumor research and families impacted by cancer. As always, we have a video version of our game planning tips. You can find that at coachingcoordinator.com or on the Spotify platform. Welcome back to Game Planning Tips. Every week, we bring you ideas that sharpen your process, concepts that help you prepare to compete at your best. Today's episode hits all three phases: how to run the ball against an odd front, how to build a disciplined defensive unit, and how to teach special teams situations that decide games. Let's get into it. We start on offense with Jason Mangone, head coach at Brockport. Coach Mangone boils down odd front answers to a simple checklist. Identify the box, number the linebackers, dominate the first level, and understand the three pressures you'll see every week. His approach keeps the run game downhill, clear, and physical, especially with inside zone as the foundation. Here's Coach Mangone on attacking odd fronts with the run game.
There we go. All right. So again, as you can see here, kind of what we're going to cover today as best we can. We're going to get through inside zone as the primary goal, depending on how much time we have. If we can get the counter and power some of our gap scheme stuff, we will. But we're going to concentrate on inside zone and really out of 20 and 10 and a little bit of 11 personnel. And how we identify the box. This is big for us, right? So we're going to get to who makes the call and how we do it, but this is our center's job. Today, we're going to concentrate on the 3-2, which is what we refer to as an Okie. And then we're going to talk about the stack a little bit, which is what a 3-3 for us. But everything starts in our run game and our pass pros with identifying the box. We're going to go over that here in a second. So philosophy of our zone. All right. This is what we got to translate to our guys and why we do and why we believe so much in inside zone here at Brockport. But the first things we're going to do is it's a downhill run play. All right. So we really believe that, you got to have your downhills and you got to have your horizontals in terms of your run game. For us, we're going to give our ball carriers some reads, which we're going to go through here as we get to this, but we're going to either bang it, which is the one that we want to do more than anything. We can bounce it, which will get us to the outside, and we can bend it, which will get us on the backside, either A gap or as far as the B gap. All right. Big thing for us with how we block the odd front in anything that we do is we have to take care of these two things on the first level. And one is a spike and one is a long stick. All right. So how we define this is a spike for us is a one gap movement. All right. Maybe a 5 technique outside your play side tackle and spiking to a B gap. All right. Just a one gap movement. We're going to consider that a spike. And then anytime a D lineman will move to 2 gaps, again, a 5 technique D end trying to move to a play side A gap, we're going to call that a long stick. All right. So how we block things has this in mind all the time. All right. And something that we emphasize to our O linemen and everything that we do is the first level is our main priority. All right. If we get to second level, great. Obviously, we would love to. But if we're bypassing guys on the first level, I think it's pretty obvious that we're going to be in trouble with how we do things in our offense. Okay. So first thing I want to cover is three main stunts that we're going to see three pressures that we get a big amount of time out of an out front that we have to be able to block. All right. And we refer to them as a mid edge, a B loop, and a curve blitz. All right. And the easiest way to kind of go over this is obviously show you, right? So here's what we consider our mid edge blitz. All right. And this is, again, if we're looking at, let's just say all of our stuff for right now is going to the right-hand side in terms of our run game, which we're going to cover here in a second. But this is one of the biggest ones we get, right? We get a head up four by that end on the right-hand side as the offense views the defense. And then he's going to long stick, again, a two-gap movement to that play side A. And then we're going to get that punch linebacker to the B and then the will off the edge. All right. That's the first one that we have to be able to pick up in all of our run game and obviously all of our pass pros. Second one that we see a big amount is the curve blitz. Okay. And again, get that head up four, and he's either going to slant to the B or kind of long stick to the A. But either way, he's going to be a one gap or a two gap movement guy. And then we're going to get two off the edge, which obviously whenever you're getting two in one gap is always going to cause problems. All right. And then lastly is the B loop. Okay. And this is, again, more of an ordinary one, kind of one of the more simpler ones, just a four-man pressure, but can cause some problems when a guy is coming from that outside linebacker spot, and getting all the way to that front side B. All right. And these are just the three that when, you're looking at how you're going to pick up things, how you're going to block things, these are three for us that are always in our mindset that we've got to take care of. All right. So, well, how are we explaining this day one to our guys when we're going to run inside zone and how we're going to do things? So first thing for us that we're talking about that we've already sort of mentioned is first level for us is our priority. All right. So we are going to block all of the D linemen. All right. And we are going to control the backside D end with either a fullback kick out, our fullback or our tight end, or we're going to read them. Okay. We're going to go over those different ways that how we're going to do that here in a second. Next thing we got to do is ID the front. So when we get to the line of scrimmage, our center's job, he's got to ID fronts, okay, and linebackers. For us, we are not for the linebacker level, we are not calling out Will, Mike, Sam, things like that. We are going to number them from play side back, all right? And again, we're going to get to that slide here in a second. But we got to block first level. We've got to be able to identify the front. And we got to have a number count with our linebackers. Okay. So how does this basically start for our inside zone, right? We have to be gap conscious. Okay. And I think everything obviously we do on both sides of the ball, obviously great run defenses have to be able to be gap conscious. Well, so does offense, obviously. So if we were looking at this and we were going to run inside zone to the offense's right, our play side tackle, which is on the right-hand side, his C gap is his biggest priority. Obviously, our guard has the B, center has A, and so forth. Okay. As you see in the back side there with the D end and the square, he's going to be controlled by either the fullback, a tight end on a kick out, or we're going to read him out of if we're in some kind of 10 personnel and have an open backside. Okay. So that's how we're going to control that backside D end. All right. Okay. Now, we've identified what our responsibilities are in terms of basic. Now we have to talk about the identification of a box and our numbering system, okay? So when our center comes to the line, how we identify an odd front, first and foremost, is when our center is covered and the guards are uncovered, all right? That's the first basis of this whole thing. So how do we identify an even front compared to an odd front? For us to be the most basic thing, center's covered, guards are uncovered, we're all set there, okay? Let's go back to that slide real quick, and I'll go through the number count of our linebackers here too. So while we're on this slide, so our linebackers, if we are going to the right-hand side on this particular play, The first linebacker in the box at second level is going to be number 1. And you see him identified there. He's over the play side guard. The first linebacker to his right, or the offense's left in the box, is number 2. All right. So in this sequence, we're facing what we refer to as an Okie front, a 3 down, 2 linebackers in the box. We're going to call an Okie. So our center comes up, he's covered, guards are uncovered. He sees 2 linebackers in the box, and that's how we're going to identify an Okie front. Okay. Now, who are the 5 most dangerous guys in this particular play for us as an offense? Well, we have starred them. All right. So our O-linemen, our 5 guys up front, are going to work to these 5 starred linebackers. Okay. As you see on the backside, we've already talked about the backside D end. We're going to leave him to the fullback or the quarterback's read. All right. So in this particular sequence, if we just call the base split flow inside zone, you can see number 42 here on the play side. He's going to work back and kick out that backside D end. Okay. So that's how we identify our 5 for what we deem the most dangerous 5 versus an Okie front. Okay. So let's get to this, right? We just talked about how do we identify an Okie. Center comes up. He sees that he is covered. He sees the guards uncovered. He sees 2 linebackers in the box. We're going to call that an Okie. And I'm kind of going.
When the offense has answers, the defense needs a structure that creates clarity, and that starts with identity. Next, we move to defense with Kevin Doherty, defensive coordinator at Georgetown. Coach Doherty lays out the Hoya Five-Star Plan, a complete blueprint built on vision, standards, and fundamentals, and the character traits that shape high-performing defenses. It's simple, teachable, and it's built for consistency week after week. Here's Coach Doherty.
Really, if there's a theme for the clinic here to kind of go through this 5-star plan that we have, first part of the plan is our vision for the defense, and we keep it simple. Right now, you see a statement that says we are. The A stands for attack, R stands for relentless, E stands for effort. So we're an attack defense that plays with relentless effort. So we're starting the vision and building the vision for the players, and we really feel strongly that they need that vision, that direction. Second part is more of directives and what we call 2 standards. So we have 2 standards, not a lot of rules. First standard is do your job. Second standard is hold each other accountable. That's where the hard part is, really, with the holding each other accountable. I think that's where we find it challenging. But in that plan, we're hoping we're building leaders as we develop our football team. The third star is our 3 musts. First must, eliminate big play. Second must, get off the field. And third must is smart situational football. So that's really the first quality control I'll look at the end of a game, whether it's on the bus ride or just getting the play-by-play. That's what I'm looking at immediately. We have 4 fundamentals that we preach and teach on a daily basis: pursuit, block destruction, tackling, and takeaways or ball disruption. And then the 5th is what I would call our high 5, which is kind of like a moral inventory, a guide to player communication, but really what we think are traits of champions. And it's a useful tool for, my personal inventory, but it's honesty, humility, higher purpose. So we got 3 H's in there, 1 I, which is intentionality, and being faithful. So I will get into those details a little bit further down the line. But again, that's our 5-star plan for excellence. When you see these little colors up top, these are really, in our unit cheat sheet, basically each color stands for the position that, this page would apply to. So we could have another page that just might have red, which applies to the defensive line. Just so you know how we, I don't want to assume anything, and especially with our players. So we kind of have a general defensive plan. And the first part of that plan is, we obviously teach our players the field dimensions. And right now a field is 53 1/3 yards wide. And But our starting point with any defense that we install is, we need to contain the football, and we use the term force in our terminology. But the goal really of that plan is to make the field smaller. And again, this is a simple idea, but this is an idea that we teach to our players. If we simply say, would you rather defend a 53 and a 3rd-yard field, or would you rather defend a 40-yard field? And the answer is usually pretty immediate. They figure that out. And obviously, if we don't have force, we have a lot of players running for yardage and not getting hit, and that's to us is the worst case scenario. So again, smaller field equals violent collisions, more hits, more turnovers, and winning the physical battle with the ball carriers. So again, we're just selling that simple idea. The next thing is we play the run squared to line of scrimmage. And I got this from a clinic a long time ago from Dean Pease. And it was real simple. Obviously his point there he was driving across is that it makes us bigger. And you got 5 dash lines out there. But really what we do in a meeting is I'll just get the first 5 guys in line, have them stand up, and then I will try to position myself through them to run the football. And it becomes pretty obvious that spacing is not ideal. And then what I'll do is I'll take those players and I'll stagger them a little bit. I'll turn them so they're not square. And then obviously the picture is very simple that I have an access to run the football. So again, we're trying to paint pictures for these guys and understand. And then obviously it's something that we can go back and teach and show them through film when we are playing squared, the positive things, and when we're not, where the holes in the defense start. Conversely, on the pass, we play the pass unsquared, which again, another way of saying is it being squared to the sidelines. Obviously, the idea, the concept here, it makes us faster to transition back and forward. So again, that's another theme that will show up in the passing game, and ultimately with all these disciplines, it will make us tougher, faster, and smarter, forcing our opponent into more errors. What you don't see down at the bottom is that we're going to be a sound football team. We're going to defend all gaps. We're going to have distribute the responsibilities in a sound manner. But it's that will be obviously part of our teaching as well. This is the big thing that when we talk to our players, what they need to know, the ASK. So the A standing for alignment and assignment. And the assignment should be simple as 1 or 2 words. So if I ask a corner, well, what's your assignment in here? It should be pretty easy. I'll mess on 1, or I'll mess 102. So they have quick language, speak back terminology to us. Obviously, we talk S stands for stance and start. And the last part is key or I process, and then communication and clues. Clues obviously is about the opponent. During the pandemic, we've had to find, different ways to get our players involved with this learning. We do use quizzes and those sort of things, but we've also asked them to do some video homeworks. And, I got this idea from Tim Weaver at Brown, and I think it's been pretty good for us. So I'm just going to share one video. This was an incoming freshman. He got the assignment, and I think he did.
Black. Tampa. Knock. ASK. Alignments and assignments. Stance and start. Keys and clues. For my A, I'm going to be at 4 yards within a 30 technique, which is the outside shade of the guard, and I have field straight. For my S, my feet are going to be shoulder width apart with a nice bend and my chest up with my hands ready to go make the play. On the snap of the ball, I have a 6-inch read step. For my K, I have surface. On the left side of the line of scrimmage, you'll see the guard and tap arm. Alert pull! If you're ready to feel it, make it. Hey, black.
And from the defense, we shift to special teams, where one mistake or one great decision can completely swing a game. Our final segment comes from Dan Swanstrom, head coach at Cornell. Coach Swanstrom breaks down the special team situations that rarely show up in practice, but often decide outcomes. Things like fair catch rules, straddle returns, block punts, momentum calls, and end-of-game decisions. These are situations you must teach because when they happen, you don't get a second chance. Here's Coach Swanstrom.
All right, getting into special team situations. Somehow I only have 10 minutes left here, but we'll start with kickoff and kickoff return, and we'll get going as fast as I can here. All right, this is something that happened to us. This is poor awareness by our left tackle. Our left tackle on the kickoff return team with a right-footed kicker. If we have a left-footed kicker, we'll put him at right tackle. We put our longest, most intelligent player at that position, and we got to make sure that we coach this player to understand that he doesn't make a fair catch call here. The kicker here is going to kick this off a bounce, and so understanding the rules in college, he can make a fair catch, and that would basically negate the kicking team's opportunity to recover this. Now, he's in good position. He doesn't do anything wrong, except he needs off the bounce. It's legal to make a fair catch, and then the kicking team would have to give him an opportunity to field the football off the fair catch. And, that's a mistake there. And then you see, the other team really not understanding the rules either, that you can't advance, an onside kick. You see him running with the ball. He should immediately get down and protect the football. So there's really two good coaching points on that clip. Fortunately for us, we ended up winning the game. Something I really hadn't thought about much until this situation. So now we make sure we get a rep, every other week. Our hands team, when we bring our hands team out on the field on Thursdays, we get a couple onside reps, but we always make sure every other week that we get a couple deep to make sure that we practice this. But this is St. Lawrence. They're squibbing the ball through against us. We take it right off the face. We're very fortunate that we get the ball back. But then we realized, that's something, we've never really practiced with that guy. We've done some pop-ups and things like that, but we make sure that we practice kicking the ball deep and squib kicks with our hands team to make sure we secure the football. All right, live ball after safety. This is a great look. Cleveland Browns here are going to put their punter in the game, and Pittsburgh goes with their punt returners back here, and so their punt returners are thinking this is a punt. So when they can't field the ball, he's making a poison call, and this is a kickoff. You gotta make sure that you talk to your returners after a safety when a punter's on the field that this is a live ball. The kickoff rules still exist. Once again, you can't advance this football, so you should just fall on it. And, this is their punt returners making a poison call on a kickoff because the punter's in the game. It might not happen that often, but you can see it greatly affecting this NFL game here in a 16-6 game. Kickoff from the 50-yard line, is something we want to be aggressive with and use some of our best onside kicks here. And whatever our surprise one is, make sure that we use and execute it. Understand when you're coaching these surprise onside kicks, if this was a regular kickoff, 13, they would not call it on him. But if you call a surprise onside, he has to be clearly behind the line. They will be very aggressive with calling offsides on the kicking team on surprise onsides. But whatever your surprise onside is, it's a great time to use it and be prepared from it. In the 3 years, in the 30 games that I've been here, we've kicked off twice from the 50. So it does happen, and making sure that you're prepared for it. Straddle return, making sure your returners understand the rule here. If your foot is out of bounds before touching the football, the ball is out of bounds. Okay, so the ball is out of bounds. This is great execution by the returner for Green Bay. Puts his foot out of bounds, and now the return team has the choice of the result of the play, or they can accept the penalty and take the ball at the 40-yard line. And I'll tell you this, just kick return, anytime you get the ball to the 40-yard line, that is a huge win. And that's well coached. But make sure you coach your returners that their foot has to be out of bounds first before securing the football. And that's just crazy execution there to make sure you're getting the ball at the 40-yard line. We had a chance to execute it last year, and our returner tapped his foot inbounds and ran out of bounds at the 3-yard line. All right, getting into punt and punt return. I'm going quick here to try to get us through everything and making sure we get all the rules. Making sure you understand the rules on the punt block team. Here, we're going to block the punt. Even though we block it, it's still important that you coach the punt return team that if it crosses the line of scrimmage, that this is a live ball and all punt rules exist. This is great execution. Look at the guys pointing, making poison calls, understanding it's past the line of scrimmage, and getting away from the football. Understanding that if it's behind the line, that you can try to scoop and score it, and we want to be very aggressive with scoop and scores. I love watching our guys there scatter. And then this will be the same clip. It's a different clip, but the guy's doing it again, running away from the ball. This is the thing that drives me the most insane, and this is our guys doing it, and we do coach this like crazy, but we're going to get a block punt here, and we're just going to fall on the football. It's just insanity. Why are you getting tackled with the ball? Now, I'll show you some results that can happen with your punt team and punt return team, but really, this is, in my opinion, this is something we want to be very aggressive with. We want to try to scoop and score this. You see 30 picking this ball up and falling down and getting tackled. There's no benefit to that. If St. Vincent's able to pick this ball up and run for a first down, so be it. Also be aware if you do block it and St. Vincent does pick it up, they can throw a forward pass and complete it, but they would have a legal men downfield just to understand the rules. I do believe Hopkins, before my time, did execute a forward pass for a first down after a blocked punt against Ursinus before my time. I threw this in here because it's just fun, but this is a better way to scoop and score. Is just make sure you just catch it off the kid's leg and run it in for a touchdown. But we want to be aggressive with scooping and scoring when the ball is behind the line of scrimmage. Illegal batting and kicking. Okay, you got to make sure that you coach this correctly with your kickers, your specialists, your quarterbacks, and understand the rules here. I see every time this happens, I see teams accept the wrong penalty at times. But understand, illegal batting or kicking can only take place in the end zone. If this ball was at the 1 or the 2 yard line and he kicked it out of the end zone, the defensive team would have the choice of the result of the play, or they can take the ball of where the illegal kick or the illegal bat took place. And I've seen teams not accept the penalty or decline the penalty and take the result versus taking the penalty at the 1 yard line and half the distance for the touchdown. But make sure that you're coaching your specialist and your offensive players at bat snap when you can kick and when you can bat the ball. It has to be in your end zone. Otherwise, it's a penalty. Bleed punt. You guys know this. I see everybody coaching this. You're going to see the Colts here. They have a chance to end the game. But they grab the football with time left. And we just watched those clips of those guys pitching the ball around, scoring on the last play of the game. Why even leave it to chance? Bleed the clock in the game. Catch momentum, something else that you want to coach. We've made mistakes on this. I see a ton of mistakes, but make sure you understand they're going to set the momentum rule for your players at the 5 yard line. Okay, so if momentum inside the 5 carries you into the end zone, you can take a knee. I see it happen all the time. I've seen our opponents do it. I've seen us do it. You catch the ball, your momentum carries you into the end zone. You think you have to take the ball out, and then you get crushed on the kickoff return team. So right here, the momentum, our player, he can take a knee with his momentum carrying him back into the end zone. And we think we see a lot of mistakes happen with this. Okay. Here's another example. I think this is also, we saw this happen, Florida State, Missouri. Momentum rule, even this ball bounces, the ball bouncing, it doesn't matter. As long as the player is inside the 5-yard line and his momentum carries him in to the end zone, he can take a knee. So this player could take a knee. He doesn't think he can take a knee, takes it out and ends up, getting to the 10-yard line. But he was in pretty bad situation there. Jumping the shield, make sure your team understands that if you jump into the shield, not only is it super dangerous, it's a 15-yard penalty. We have had 2 penalties of jumping over the shield since I've been here. We're no longer a shield team, but your punt rush team must understand that. All right, you're going to see some great ones here, but understanding the rules about downing a punt. The Raiders here, this is a great job by the Raiders, understanding right here, the ball's punted. Denver goes to down the punt, and as they're trying to down it, they're batting the ball around. The Raiders player now has options. So as soon as Denver doesn't secure downing the football, really simply put, the Raiders player can pick this up, and he has choices. The Raiders now can choose where he batted the ball or the result of the play. So the Raiders, when you see somebody not secure a down punt, you should be very aggressive with trying to do something like this. Great awareness by this player, understanding that even if he muffs this and Denver falls on it, it's not Denver's ball. It would be their choice of where Denver originally downed the punt but not securing it. 17, great awareness. This is great coaching. And I think the Raiders are going to take the results of this play here. I'm just going to keep going. You cool with that?
Yeah, you got about 2 or 3 minutes left.
Okay. I got so much to get to. This is a famous one here. You're down in Louisiana here, but you always want to down a punt. This is famous. Look at the return. I mean, the punt team not securing the punt, letting it bounce around, walking away from it. Great awareness here, picking the football up, running it in for a touchdown. You always down a punt and hand it to the official. That is how you secure it. With some of the recent modernization with the punt return team, with the 2 punt returners, we want to make sure that we get this addressed with our punt team early. Making sure, this is the Bears with 2 returners. They bluff the one side. The other guy catches it, runs it in, making sure where the other 2 punters are. This is the first time I ever saw it was the Seattle-St. Louis game. But making sure where the 2 returners are. Great sell here. The punt's on the other side of the field. That's a touchdown. Rutgers this year was doing some crazy stuff with 2 returners. So you got to make sure where they are, throwing the ball back across the field. This is going to end up being a touchdown. Just knowing, and we got to just, with what everybody's doing with 2 returners now, our punt team, we got to coach our gunners, and we got to be aware and alert our punt team when there's 2 punters out there. Poison calls, we've gotten much better at poison calls over the years that we've been here. We want to be with the punt returners and making sure that they are pointing and addressing where the football is, so your punt return team can get away from the football. This is a great job by our returner here, pointing and showing our return team where the ball is and getting them away from it. And then that's a good example. And then I'll show you a bad example here, where we're fortunate to get the ball back, but our returner is not alerting our punt return team where the ball is. We end up getting hit, and we got to do a great job of communicating poison and where the ball is to our punt return. With your punt team, it is perfectly legal to push the blocker into the returner. And so this is legal. This is not interference. 31 pushes his blocker into the returner, perfectly legal, and almost gives them an opportunity to secure the football. End of game punting, this is the most famous one here. Michigan's in a spread punt with 10 seconds left. Putting a lot of pressure on getting this punt off. We want to make sure we have an end of the game punt, a tight punt, a one-step punt, where basically just the execution of the punt will get the game won. You guys seen that.
3 coaches, 3 takeaways you can put into your plan this week. Dominate the first level against odd fronts. Build defensive excellence through identity and fundamentals. Coach special situations with intention. This episode is presented by Lawrence First and Goal Foundation, supporting pediatric brain tumor research and families battling cancer. To donate, get involved, or attend this year's clinics, visit lawrencefirstandgoal.org. Thanks for listening, and best of luck as you build your plan for the week ahead. We're proud to partner with the best companies that serve coaches. For your in-game analytics, go to modernfootball.com. When you win it all this year, Signature Championship Rings provides you a great design within your budget. Use Story of the Season for a modern version of the media guide and a way to raise $20,000 to $40,000 for your program. Go to storyoftheseason.com. Sideline communication is critical. Our partner, the Headset app, has figured out how to do that at a fraction of the cost. Check out what they do at theheadsetapp.com. Go Route offers you a way to call plays in games now if you're in Texas. And Gridiron Scout is the premier way to get plays into practice and eliminate scout cards. Check it out at goroute.com. And finally, Titan Sensors gives you the analytics you need for your players on player development and understanding their physical needs. Check out all of our sponsors and our content at coachandcoordinator.com.